Here's the first 5 minutes of The Salvager, my new fun and exciting science fiction novel that is currently available for pre-orders on the crowdfunded publishing site Inkshares. Have a listen and check it out. The school bus flew across the undulating landscape of red-brown sand. A bright yellow lozenge filled with children who were all rapidly becoming bored as the novelty of being out of the classroom wore off. Every now and then, as the dunes rose to meet it, the bus kicked up a thick plume of sand that hung briefly in the air behind it. The hum of the anti-grav engines at each corner of the bus contrasted with the whistling of the ever-present wind. Faces peered out of the window, watching the vast desert slide past, searching for sand sails or jackals, or indeed anything to break up the monotony of the sands. Kendra Williams, history teacher and unwilling tour guide, also stared out of the window. Enjoying the relative peace, it wouldn't last long. It would only be a matter of time before boredom got the better of the children, and they returned to the squabbling and the endless questions. Not that she minded being asked questions. That was generally a large part of her job. But she was a history teacher, not a geography teacher. The geography teacher who was supposed to be leading this field trip, Mr. Riker, was apparently sick, which Kendra was sure had nothing to do with him celebrating his birthday at a club the previous night. Most of the staff had gone. The recently arrived history teacher, in her first job after qualifying half a galaxy away on the far distant Earth, hadn't been invited. Kendra huffed out a deep sigh. Her knowledge of the geography of Danilon 4 amounted to little more than, this bit's a desert, at the equator it's a tropical jungle, then there's more desert on the other side. Was there ice at the poles? It suddenly occurred to her that she didn't know. Had she looked out of the window when the transport ship that had delivered her down to the surface was heading into the atmosphere? No, she remembered with some embarrassment. She had been too busy violently dispensing her lunch into the conveniently provided paper bag. Well, as long as none of the children asked any questions about the polar regions, then she could probably wing it. I mean, it was just rocks and sand, right? She looked down at the notes she had frantically scribbled down some 20 minutes before the trip had started. Was the information she had correct? She didn't have the faintest idea. Honestly, she was suffering no small amount of anxiety that she had actually looked up the wrong planet. It was entirely possible that she had typed Danilon 5 or Danilon 6 instead. Were they desert planets as well? Were they even habitable? She was sure she remembered that at least one of them was a gas giant. Would it have been so hard to give the planets individual names? There were only 8 of them after all. It displayed, in her opinion, a desperate lack of imagination. She looked out of the window and tried to let the motion of the bus and the desert flowing past soothe her worries. "Miss!" The peace and quiet crumbled and drifted away like the sand below them. Suppressing another sigh, she swiveled in her seat to look back down the length of the bus. In amongst the rows of children staring out of windows or looking at their personal holoscreens, a small, lone hand was stretching up towards the bus's ceiling. It quivered in a way that suggested great urgency. "Yes, Jason," she said. "I need the toilet, miss." Kendra stared at his pudgy little face, which was currently clenched up like a fist. It spoke of someone undergoing great stress. "You can't need to go now, Jason. We only left the school 20 minutes ago." She had been very particular about reminding the children that they should go before they left. It was one of the most important lessons that a teacher learned. "Miss!" The panic in his expression suggested that a very damp explosion was imminent. Muttering curses under her breath, Kendra looked inquisitively at Mr. Lennett, the driver, her eyebrows raised. "No chance, love," he said, with more than a hint of a smirk on his thin lips. "Can't sit down here. We're in the middle of a jackal pack's hunting range. Lad's going to have to hold on for a bit." Why her? She had set aside her free morning to sit in the library working on lesson plans for the next month, but no, that would have been a much too productive use of her time. So instead, she was now stuck out in the bloody desert with a lippy bus driver and an incontinent child. She silently laid another curse on the absent Mr. Riker. "How long until we reach a safe spot?" she asked the driver. He thought for a moment, rubbing at the coarse stubble of his chin with a thick, yellow-stained finger. The action raised a cloud of dust from his beard. Kendra tried not to think about it circulating around the closed atmosphere of the bus. "About 10-15 minutes, I reckon," he said. 10 minutes, repeated Kendra. Truly the universe has a grudge against me. I've got an empty bottle if you want it.